So Darkest Dungeon has officially been a thing for about a month or so now, and in that time people have learned one thing about it. It hates you. It hates you, it hates everything about you, it hates everything you've ever hoped and dreamed for, and personally makes it its quest to destroy every single one of those as viciously as possible. Or at least it seems that way most of the time. In truth, there are actually quite a few ways to deal with the game and make yourself and your group somewhat in control of situations. Somewhat being the key word there, but to a beginner, these may not be readily apparent despite being told about them by the game yourself. So, without further ado, let me tell you about the 10 steps I learned to survive the Darkest Dungeon. Before I go on, let me just say that this video is strictly meant for beginners of the game, people who have already played it for a while and have mastered it or have beaten it or whatever, or at least beaten as much as we can do right now, considering it is still in early access. Probably won't find this video very helpful, but you never know. So, with that said, let's get on with it. Number 1. Stress is more important than you think. While everyone knows that having high stress in a dungeon is a bad thing because it can cause your character to go insane, what many people don't realize their first time around is just how bad it is when a character does go insane. You only have a small chance of your hero activating heroism, or as I like to call it, hero mode, so the risk is never worth it. Going insane can drag the rest of your party down and increase their stress, inflict heavy penalties to stats on the fully stressed out hero, cause them to ignore and deny all attempts at healing or buffing them, or have them a chance to ignore their orders and skip their turn, act on their own, or inflict heavy damage upon themselves, depending on what debuff they get. Stress is very important to keep under control if you don't want to end up with a failed mission, or worse, a dead party member. Watch the meter and employ items, abilities, and campfire rests to keep stress low and health high. Number 2. Vestals are never inappropriate. In my entire time playing Darkest Dungeon, the one class I always found myself taking with me or wishing I had taken with me into dungeons has been the Vestal. The class is just far too handy to not have around because they're the only true healer class in the game, and despite what you may think, you will need heals to keep your dungeon runs going smoothly. Or at least I did. And that could be because I'm just a terrible scrub, but if that's the case, I know I'm not the only one out there, so take it from me. As the title of this part of the list suggests, Vestals are never inappropriate. Their heals are always handy, and they can even do some decent artillery damage if need be, though usually you'll keep them in a supporting role. As was mentioned before, keeping your stress low and your health high is very important, and the Vestal is perfect for that task. Number 3. Make use of each class's buff ability. While it may seem unwise to waste a turn not doing damage, sometimes a character's buff is a core part of their gameplay and will help you immensely. Such as the Crusader's Bulwark of Faith, which actually offers so much defense that it causes him to take minimal damage while everyone else takes the full amount. Or the Leper's Focus ability, which grants him a huge amount of accuracy so he can stop missing all the freaking time! Point is, each buff ability for some of the classes has its own use and benefit, so play around with them and see just how powerful they are. Some, such as the Bulwark of Faith, may even save a dungeon run that would have otherwise failed. Number 4. The flee from battle button is right here. Okay, no, seriously, don't be afraid to run. We've all been there when playing this game. You've been doing great for most of the dungeon until you come across that one group of enemies that somehow just keeps consistently hitting and messing with you while your characters stumble, miss, go insane, or flat out just don't do enough to help the situation. In situations like this, the best thing to do is just cut your losses and flee. Not just from the battle, but from the dungeon. You will keep all the loot you've acquired, but you won't get the end rewards, and your heroes will suffer additional stress. But here's the thing. Loot can be regained, stress can be healed, but heroes can't be resurrected. Once someone dies, they are gone for good, and you will have wished you ran when you had the chance. It takes skill to win a fight, but it takes smarts to know when a fight is lost. Number 5. Bring lots of food and torches. Lots. Seriously, I cannot emphasize this enough. While shorter dungeons may require less food, it's still recommended that you take at least 8 pieces of it with you into even the shorter ones, and on the longer ones I usually go with at least 2 or 3 full stacks of them. Why? Because starvation not only sucks, but it slowly kills your party if you don't have enough food to go around. Not only that, but having enough food to feast at a fire drastically heals your party's health and stress so you can recover from a bad spot of trouble. Additionally, using food outside of camps will heal an injured party member for a small amount, but this is usually not recommended unless it's like before the very last room to top everyone off. At the same time, to help keep stress down, bring torches. These will not only make it easier for your characters to scout ahead, but it will also decrease the chances for enemies to surprise you. Oh, and bring shovels too. Otherwise, these blockages you'll come across will have to be taken down with your bare hands, and yeah, just bring some shovels. Number 6. Low light runs aren't a bad thing. Hot off the heels of me telling you to bring lots of torches, I'm now going to tell you that bringing no torches can actually be helpful. While going in with low light, your characters will become stressed faster, be hit harder and more often by enemies, and will be surprised more often. But the benefit to going in with low light is that your characters will find far more loot and gold, and you will critically hit more often. Somehow. Despite the fact that hitting a creature critically implies that you strike at a vulnerable area, meaning you'd have to see it before you can hit it, but whatever. Point is, low light is a high risk but high reward scenario, so if you're ever low on gold, the best thing to do is take a few sturdy heroes, go into a short or medium length dungeon, and come out with more gold than you'd ever have doing the same dungeon on full light. It's dangerous, yes, but it can be very worth it if you're careful. Number 7. Always keep a backup party. Losing one of your main guys sucks. Losing all of your main guys, however, is crippling, and you never want to be in that situation. You have a lot of seeking adventurers constantly wanting to get their hands on the riches and rewards these dungeons offer. So take a few low levels into a few runs and get a backup squad leveled and ready to go, just in case your main party either bites the dust or becomes so stressed that they have to go out of commission for a while. It's a worthwhile investment, and it allows you to play around with other party combos and characters. Either way, you always want reserves to pick up the slack if your main group is taken down. Number 8. Upgrade and heal your heroes regularly. The town buildings are very useful for more things than just removing stress. The sanitarium removes any one negative quirk your character has after a week of in-game time, or one dungeon run, and the guild and blacksmith will increase your hero's power as they level up their resolve. While the bonus you get in between each ability rank and item upgrade may not seem like much, in the long run they'll add up and be very appreciated. Doing at least 1 point of extra damage in a game where the numbers are universally low is actually far more beneficial than it may first appear. The upgrades and skill ranks are there for you to use. Don't let them go to waste. Life may be cheap in the world of DSD, but that life isn't going to help you if they aren't equipped and prepared to pick up where their ill-fated predecessors left off. However, upgrading is not cheap, so be sure to watch your resources or money. Number 9. Don't binge spend your gold. As was said, none of the upgrading is cheap, and despite how useful it is, it's best to only single out a few characters that you want to prioritize and only upgrade as much as you can afford. My personal recommendation? Prioritize ability upgrades for the Vestal's heals, as that will be what is most likely keeping you alive while you're in the dungeon. Gold is precious, and isn't a guaranteed reward from dungeon runs that you may fail, so it's best to keep your expenses low by managing who needs the upgrades to abilities and equipment more. Be smart, be stingy, but be willing to spend if you need to. And finally, number 10. The random number generator hates you. This is far, far too true. This game is brutally unfair and is horribly unapologetic about it. It will screw you over with a series of unfortunate misses, enemy crits, trap chests, just because it feels like it. While you can manage your party as best as you can, heal your stress, micromanage your upgrades, heal, buff, whatever, the roll of the die will always be the final factor in your fate. If the game says you die, well, you die. Of course, there are ways to deal with this, but they are mostly limited to fleeing from the wrath of the dice roll and returning to try again later. Don't be an idiot and attempt to continue on when bad situation after bad situation has already happened, because odds are it's only going to get worse. The game will destroy you, and it's up to you to pick up the pieces and put yourself back together and try again. This is the point of DSD. It is a game that gives you lots of options to succeed, but ultimately, your fate may not always be in your hands. Be smart, be calm, be accepting, and more importantly, be safe. If running is the best option, then hightail it out of there before you take unnecessary losses. It may go against every single gamer instinct we have to run away and give up the chase for now, but honestly, it will save you more often than not when the game is built to murder you. And when RNGesus decrees that the dice will smile upon you, it will feel all the better. That's all for this list, folks. If this was helpful to you, please leave a like and a favorite, and perhaps even a comment, and maybe even give that subscribe button a little click, as I may do more videos like this in the future. If this video wasn't that helpful, then as I said at the beginning of it, you probably already knew most of it, in which case, good for you. Thank you again for watching, everybody, and, as always, have a lovely evening.